Good afternoon, Arthur. How are you doing?
Afternoon, Ross. How are things, bud? Everything all right?
All right, mate. It's a bit warm, isn't it?
It is a close one. It must be warm because Caroline's out the back. She's normally
Oh,
upstairs doing her quilts, but she's out on the patio, she is.
oh yeah. No, it's the last 2 days. I think it's a bit sticky today as
It
well.
is.
Storm coming apparently, isn't it?
I think today's the last, then we got a drop of rain coming, which cool it down a bit for us. But
No, that'll be nice. That'll be nice. Right, mate. We're on. I think this is the episode 4. I think no.
yes, this is the one. I think it's about music today, isn't it?
Yeah, I thought we'd look at music. We've mentioned it a few times over the last couple of episodes, and we've talked about singers and songwriters and other types of music that help us and inspire us, or musicians and songwriters that we idolize. So I thought, well, we'd spend this next hour just talking about a few of them and maybe explaining why them in particular, why they draw that sort of creativity from us, and or what it is that we admire about them.
Yeah, I think so. As you know, being Welsh, we've got a fair few sort of fabulous Welsh singers,
Hmm.
songwriters. I know Mike Peters is one of your favourites from The Alarm.
Yeah.
Um, in my 50 famous, Tom is in there, Shirley. I got Elvis in there, Freddie Mercury.
Hmm.
Um, now, where I like listening to the music, especially the songwriting part. Now, I don't think Elvis wrote many songs, if any. Um, but Freddie Mercury wrote songs. I don't think Tom Jones has written many songs. But
No.
obviously, when you listen to the music that's been written for them,
Hmm.
it's basically poetry, isn't it?
Yes.
And it's the delivery then of the singer.
Mm.
Um, so, you know what I mean? I have been inspired by many writers, lyricists. I mentioned before Albert Hammond, Diane Warren, all these people who are not great singers. Diane Warren doesn't sing, but Albert Hammond sings. He's not a great singer. He says that himself. I'm no singer. But when he sings his own songs, he puts his mark on them. And then when other people sing them, you always revert back to him. And a lot of people don't realise what they've written. They hear these songs by top singers, and then they say, "Who wrote that?" Then they go, "Well, he wrote it, didn't he?" He said, "No, he never wrote it.
Mm.
No, it's written by Albert Hammond or somebody, Diane Warren or somebody like that." You know what I mean? And I like reading the lyrics of songs.
Yeah, Bernie Taupin is a great example of that, who writes for Elton John.
Exactly.
Was written some of the best lyrics I've ever heard
Oh,
in my life.
yeah, yeah.
But to most people, they wouldn't even know his name.
Well, no, and then when you look into the biography of him, I think he's from Lincoln.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I think he's born on a farm, I think.
Mm.
And that's one of the songs is about him going back to the farm. And so he obviously inspired from his upbringing, which he's
Yeah.
put into song, which
Yeah.
is what we basically do with our poems.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
know, I'm from Kyra, from the valleys, Wimbri Mountain. So you visualize what you were doing when you went up the Wimbri Mountain.
Mm.
My father going off to work in the morning, so you look back and you put it into words. And then when other people read it who are in the same position, they think, "Oh, I remember that. That's exactly how it was," which is what you want, basically.
Yes.
Um, so, yes, we've got some great songwriters, some fabulous talent. Dire Straits, I like, the Eagles.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And the older groups as well, when you listen to the lyrics compared to some of today's lyrics, they blow them out of the water.
Yeah, I agree. Eagles
Oh,
definitely. I think Desperado is one of the finest songs ever written.
yeah.
I always tend to go back a bit around that time, due to my father's indoctrination. I have a unhealthy attachment to early Neil Diamond
Oh, that Neil Diamond. Yeah.
and his early songs, which are very much about his upbringing and his experiences. And again, he had a way with words. I think they were probably very difficult to equal.
Mhm.
You know, Billy Joel, very much the same,
Yeah.
fantastic lyricist. Bruce Springsteen is a better lyricist than people give him credit for.
Oh, exactly.
Um,
Exactly.
you know, when you listen to his ballads, there's so much power in those ballads and there's heart in them, and he's an anomaly to me because having watched him on Broadway, when he talks about his songwriting, you quickly work out that you know he portrays this working class hero through his music, but actually that's not really who he is, and he's never worked in a factory and he's never really done a day's work.
No, no, no.
Um, and his entire persona apparently was based on his father, and his father was that working class man, the jeans, the t-shirt.
You got it.
Um, but you know, Bruce, in his incredible talent, was able to turn those into songs. And you know, I'm a big fan of his later stuff as well as his earlier stuff. It's kind of a weird thing. I was talking to somebody about Highlands in the book I wrote about Scotland, and I was listening to Bruce Springsteen when I wrote that book. About a year or so ago, he wrote an album called Western Stars, which is a bit of a country and western album that he did. And it was one of those rare albums that when you listen to it, there wasn't a single song that you would skip at all. And I fell in love with it straight away. Fell in love with it. And obviously, he's talking about characters of the West, and he's talking about his songs about stuntmen, his songs about cafes. There's all sorts of content in it. But he created this landscape and this journey within this album, and that's when I started thinking, well, actually, maybe I should do that for Scotland because I write so much about it. How do I fill in the gaps in the Scottish poetry that I've written?
Yeah, yeah.
So yes, it's kind of an odd question when someone says, "What inspired you to write a book about Scotland and the Highlands?" My answer is a country and western album by Bruce Springsteen.
You know, the Traveling Wilburys, right, when they came out first, the super group, isn't it? You know what I mean? I had a double album, I think, straight away, like, I mean, and you listen to the lyrics in some of the songs and how they originated. Like, they wrote an album in about 2 days, I think.
Mm.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
I think the one Handle Me With Care, that was, I think a parcel was delivered to George Harrison's house, and it had Handle With Care had on it, you know, big letters. And he thought, we're going to write a song about that. And he, you know, they all get together and they start jamming, and then the tune comes, and then the words come, and the next minute they're recording it.
Yeah.
In like one take. You know, I mean, again, Roy Orbison and stuff like that. You know, listen to the lyrics of Roy Orbison. You know what I mean? Oh, so beautiful. You know, listen to that. You know, you can just shut your eyes and smooth.
Yeah.
And so I listen to a lot of music. When I'm writing, I got the telly on. The telly's on, but I'm listening to it, but I'm not taking any notes of it. If you can understand me. So if somebody said, "Do you write locked away?" or I said, "No, I write like I am now. I'd be writing. The telly's on now. Sound is done, but I'd be writing because I know what I'm going to write. No distraction from anything. So I could have the record player blasting.
Yeah.
Like, say, the Wilburys on, and I could still write what I want. I'm not one of those writers that sort of, oh, keep quiet. I'm concentrating because I don't have to. I don't know. But yes.
Yeah, I'm different to that. I can't have anything on.
There we are. See, yeah.
You know, if the television's on, I can't have it on. If I have music on, it has to be instrumental music.
I got it. Yeah.
And I tend to, because I mean, you've read some of my stuff, and you know, I mean, I can tend to err on the melancholy side at times. That's a surprise, but I tend to get drawn into soundscapes. There's certain music and there's certain pieces that put me into a certain mood, and they create like a bubble for me. A great example of that, I mean, I watch a lot of David Lynch films, and Twin Peaks is my favorite television series, and the music from that is by a guy called Angelo Badalamenti.
Beautiful music.
And it's beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
And it's haunting. And if I'm trying to get somewhere emotionally, because if I write something and it's going to be an emotional piece, it has to come out in a whole. It has to come out in that piece. And a lot of some people call it a stream of consciousness. So I kind of write it as I think it, and then I go back through it, and I take words out and I take bits out, and what I'm left with then is almost like the bone of what I'm feeling at that time. And so Angelo Badalamenti does that for me perfectly. He gets me to a place, and it's creative. And I wrote about him in one of my books actually, because it pulls me into this world where I'm creative. But anything, if someone talks to me, or if it's a lyric, I think it's because my father trained me to listen to lyrics so much.
Yeah.
If I hear a lyric, I'm distracted, and then that's it. It's over. So I tend not to do that. And it also reminds me of times with my mother. You know, my mother is very much like me. She likes the instrumental music as well. And, you know, we share that, and we say and we listen to it. And it's very easy to get, you know, you're like a surfer on the wave, aren't you? You just let the music just take you away somewhere.
Go with the flow.
Yeah. And
one of my favorites is ELO, right? I love ELO. Midnight on the Water. You know, when I heard that first, right? Midnight on the water, I saw the ocean's daughter, and it, you know, you can just sit down and hum it, like, you know, I mean, and you're there, you're on the ocean, you can see her, you know, incredible. These fellas, and they. It comes so easy to them. See, you know, it's like when the Beatles and all these, they weren't musicians really when they started. You know, they were strumming and this. They can't read music. You know, at the time they can now, obviously. You know, you can't really play the piano, but they pick it up because they're so gifted. It's a gift they've had. You know what I mean? Incredible.
Well, you've just given us a bit of a song then. So if anyone is tuning in, this is a poetry podcast, and it's not Arthur Cole, the Crooner Sessions.
Yeah. You're talking about when I used to go way up to London. I used to stay in the Rubens Hotel, right? And as we were going to the Rubens, one of the best hotels in London, right? And as we went into the foyer, on the right-hand side is a big white grand piano, right? And I always had visions. I thought to myself, I wish I could play the piano. I'd play a few Billy Joel songs with my pint pot there.
Yeah.
You know,
why not?
The Piano Man, like, you know what I mean? And I think I'd make a few bob piano.
Yeah.
That's how we started.
That's how we started. State of mind, you know, New York state of mind, like just.
Well, and that's how we started, you know, playing the piano, and that's the song in it, Piano Man. If you listen to the lyrics, you had all sorts in the bar, didn't you? All different in the bar.
Amazing song.
Keeping them happy from the blues, like from, you know, they were there for that like couple of hours, and they never care in the world because Billy's on the piano, like.
Yeah, it'd be a great bar to walk into and see Billy.
Unbelievable. And him and Elton John played together, then, you know, I mean, incredible. And they're getting on a bit now, like, you know what I mean. But will we have that kind again? I don't know. The music have changed. You know what I mean? It's electronic and stuff now. But when you see groups like super groups like the Wilburys and ELO, and I've seen ELO live, I've seen the Eagles live, you know what I mean? Absolutely brilliant, like a record. Shut your eyes.
Yeah.
And I think that's another thing, you know what I mean? Modern music today. I couldn't even tell you what's number one in the charts.
I don't even know if there are charts anymore. I don't know.
Well, I couldn't tell. I couldn't know when I was growing up. You knew what you could, the top 10 every Sunday night. You listen to the top 20, whatever it was. You knew them all, like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Today, no. I prefer the older. Vinyl is coming back, and I prefer the older singers.
I'm guilty of being a new vinyl aficionado.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just recently bought Jeff Wayne's War of the Worlds. I love that. Great.
I've got loads of vinyls upstairs. They're up in the attic. I have tapes. I got loads of tapes. You know, the first tape I bought was Bridge Over Troubled Waters. And Brothers in Arms. That's 1986. That is. It's 34-year-old. Caroline bought that for me when when I got promoted, she bought me, and I had it in the car, playing it and playing it and playing it. Like, I mean, Mark Knopfler, you know, when he's playing the guitar, he plays with everybody, you know.
Mm.
I watch him with Emmylou Harris, you know, he's playing, she's singing, he's brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, my father's a big fan. My father of Mark Knopfler, Dire
oh,
Straits.
yeah. But there we are. So, shall we start a few? Is it?
Yeah, John, do you want to go first? Do you want to give us a?
Yeah, I'll do. You said you done Freddie Mercury, haven't you?
I did Freddie Mercury a long time ago. Yeah,
Have you
yeah,
got him there?
probably somewhere.
If you haven't, I'll read Freddie's.
Probably somewhere. I mean, I wrote about Freddie I wrote about him when he died.
Well, there we are. If you prefer, I'll write the one I wrote about him, right? And then
Yeah.
perhaps I'll give a different take on the way you write.
Yeah, right.
Because I wrote about him, sort of. Where's he by now? Bohemian Rhapsody, 48. I basically wrote. It's a bit like a life story, you know what I mean?
Mm.
Okay then. Obviously, Farrokh Bulsara, aka Freddie Mercury, born in Zanzibar, sorry, Tanzania, and later became the frontman for the supergroup Queen. Many say he's the greatest rock singer of all time. A talented musician, captivates the audiences, very, very flamboyant. You know what I mean? Yeah, the audience is in the palm of his hand, Freddie Mercury. As soon as he comes on with that microphone, you know what I mean? That's it. So, anyway, it's titled Bohemian Rhapsody, obviously. He fled to this country a performer unique. Some say the greatest, a lean, lithe physique. With a 3-octave voice, he sang like a dream, so flamboyant on stage, a showman supreme. Such a bohemian lifestyle, he strutted his stuff, so teasing and charming, fans couldn't get enough. He spoke as a baritone, but sang as a tenor, a true superstar who brought us all so much pleasure. Supernumerary in sizes, an enhanced vocal range, with a broken mic stand, he was born to entertain. He could hold the audience in the palm of his hand. For years he fronted a world-renowned band. Born Farrokh Bulsara, Freddie Mercury he became. He lived life to the full, whilst shunning the fame. With Deacon, May and Taylor, timeless music he made, magical performances that will never ever fade. His life was cut short, taken before his time, but his legacy lives on, songwriting sublime. A vocalist unique, will we ever see the like? A talent heaven sent when strutting with the mic. That's how I saw him, you know, when I wrote it, with his microphone. As you know, his lifestyle was off the charts.
Yes.
Killed himself, basically. He was so, what's the word I'm looking for? Promiscuous. You know what I mean? And it saw his downfall. But his teeth gave him the voice, apparently. Those teeth he had. What did I call it? Supernumerary, they were in sizes. And he advanced his vocal range. He had tremendous vocal range. But probably one of the greatest entertainers, is without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah, I mean, I remember his passing, and I mean, I was a huge Queen fan. I don't know many people that aren't, and I think it was the first time for me where like an idol had fallen to me. You know, when he sang, like you said, the range and diversity of his voice was without question, and the quality of it without question. But you always felt he was singing to you, and even in stadiums, 100,000 people, Freddie was singing to you. And when it happened, I remember it being on the television, and I remember him going, and I remember genuinely feeling for the first time, I mean, outside of family loss, I felt genuinely sad
Mm.
because I felt that I had lost something from my life, and it was a singer.
Mm.
And of course it was different then because, you know, he was quite a private person apart from his lifestyle, and he never really said what was going on, and you could tell he was ill by looking at him.
Oh yes.
Yeah, so I felt quite sad, and I remember seeing the people going to London and writing on the wall of his house, and but it was weird. He had such a connection with his audience, and definitely with me. So when he went, I felt like I'd lost a friend, and I felt like musically something was gone that would never ever be returned.
No, you won't see the likes of him again.
No.
I don't think you have to be an exceptional
Yes.
performer to perform like it was so easy with him. I look at the documentary, he's there with his cigarette, and you know the way he behaves, you know, that type of, and obviously the song "Those Were the Days," you know, so those were the days of my life, you know.
Lives, yeah.
You know, when you listen to the lyrics of it, you know, it's sad, you know, you can tell it's there.
Yeah.
He's trying to tell you something. It's like the Bohemian Rhapsody. People say, "What's it about?" Who knows what it's about? Different interpretations on it.
Yeah.
I don't think they knew themselves when they wrote it, or when you wrote that what it was about. It's just like poetry. It just comes out. It rhymes. You know what I mean? And he's got bits and pieces, an amalgam of bits and pieces in it.
I mean, I think that fits in with kind of what we were saying about poetry in its sense as well, is that the meaning at the time, it obviously means something, and it meant something at the time.
Oh yeah.
And then 20 years later, or 30 years later now, with hindsight, we can project onto that song what we want to hear in that song. That may or may not be true at the time, but it's what we project onto it, right? And that's what, you know, that's the amazing thing about it. But yeah, I was devastated as a young man, musician myself. You sit there playing Queen stuff on the piano and on the guitar, and you know, never really singing it because who would dare take that on? But you know, there was a tremendous sense of loss. So I'll add to your Mercury, and I'll write you. I wrote about him.
That's right.
And this was basically called Wall Message, because if I could have, I would have written all of this on the wall of his house with all the other tributes.
I got you.
It's sad. It's sad in its context, but it's sad because that's how I felt. But the last couple of lines will sort of drive home my real feelings about it. So this is Wall Message. Do you remember those final days when your clinging skin hung on wilting bones, and I looked into your wrinkled face to see a young man's eyes, where life stared at you through death, but you smiled? And it's your smile which lives within my wandering mind of memory, not the reflection of who you were, but the shadow of what is, drained of grace and grandeur. I cried at the final curtain, because the fire that burned twice as bright only warmed for half as long. And now I sit within this stone-cold room, haunted by your aching rhapsody. So rest now, my untouchable friend.
Excellent. You know what I mean? You compare the two poems that I wrote. It's like yours is the epitaph for him, isn't it?
Yes.
My poem sort of, if people didn't know Freddie Mercury, well, they'd read it and they say, well, who's this man? I said, well, he's the lead singer with Queen, one of the greatest rock bands ever. I said, I've read the Rosses now. And they go, what's that about then? Well, that's when he was dying. This man has gone from sort of being the number one to infinity, basically.
Yeah.
So that's what I like about poetry. When you know, there's comparisons along the line. So poetry can marry up, obviously, because they have married up.
Yeah.
They do balance each other out, don't they?
Yeah.
Totally different styles.
Yes.
And that's what I like about it. You know, but going off Freddie, I mean, killed himself, end of.
Yes. Yeah.
You know what I mean? No doubt about that. And again, you've got to look at the music business itself. What goes on in it? You know, exploitation, sign this. Like Billy Joel didn't write for years. And I think the first LP he released after the contractual problems that he had with when he signed the contracts initially. I think he's got on it is a cow and somebody sucking on a teat underneath, basically saying that's the way, they were sucking you dry, like, and that's what they did. He won the cup, but he didn't. He had loads of songs, he had them written, he was writing all the time, but he never had actually. I think he was in these contractual problems, you know what I mean? And all of them, you know what I mean? Willie Nelson, I think he owed £7 million to the tax man. So he says, well, I got no money. I'll write, you can have my next 3 royalties. Because he used to give it away to the farmers and stuff like that, when they were going through these problems. So the next one, the tax man's after him for £7 million. Where's his accountant? So he signs 3 albums, says the tax man, we're going to have those 3 albums and they'll make you the £7 million back or whatever. And I think it was like, cool.
Yeah, I mean, like you mentioned Elvis earlier. And, my mother's a big Elvis fan. I'm a big Elvis fan. And always on my mind. What an incredible song that is.
Yeah.
But it's actually Willie Nelson's version that I love.
Oh yeah. Willie Nelson is one of my favourite singers. Karen, my daughter, has grown up with my music. She's 37 now, and she still loves my music. And when she plays it, she said, "What's that?" That's Hearth's music, that is. Because it goes right through Willie Nelson, Neil Sedaka, Carole King. Oh God, what a talent! You know what I mean? Unbelievable, writing songs when she was 16, with Goff, and then she meets Goffin, and then he's a lunatic. You know what I mean? And there's always flaws everywhere along the line. It's unbelievable. It is.
I think to us as well. When I say us, I mean you mentioned your daughter then, and me as a son of from a family that loved music, and music was always on. You're right. We tend to hark back to that stuff because that is the soundtrack of our childhoods. I said a few times, I don't actually know if I genuinely like Neil Diamond or not. But I was so indoctrinated with it when I was young. There's definitely a chance that I'm just conditioned to it. It could be Stockholm syndrome for all I know.
Caroline's a big Neil Diamond. She loves Neil Diamond, Caroline does. There's another woman I love as well, Mary Shaping Carpenter. Have you heard of her? Mm-hmm. Mary Shaping Carpenter, I love her music. And then you've got the Carpenters and people like, Christ, you can go on and on. Go on and on, you can, you know what I mean? And I was listening to Tony Bennett on the radio the other day, you know what I mean? Probably the best, he's still alive, isn't he? Best crooner we've ever had. Frank Sinatra, they tell me Frank Sinatra will go into a studio and do a song in one take and then walk out. Frank Sinatra. What did right, in you go, boom, 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 out you come.
Yeah.
You look at multi-talented again, you know what I mean? Good actor, fabulous actor, lovely singer. Had the whole gambit, you know what I mean? Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Right, next one?
Yeah, let's have another singer.
Right then, let's look at some Welsh, is it?
Let's put some Taff into it, come on.
Let's put some Taff into it.
You say you want Tom, because my mother loves Tom.
I'll do Tom. Let's look at Tom. Now, a friend of mine, Billy the Kid.
Yes.
I wrote that for David Stead, who I played golf with, and he said to me one day, can you write about Billy the Kid? And I thought, oh, Christ alive, Billy the Kid. How do you write a poem about Billy the Kid? But I did it, and he took me 20 minutes. When people ask you to write about a specific person, but I had Tom in my sort of in my head anyway. He was in the top 50 anyway, so he had to go in there anyway. But David was in a group, in the 60s called the Senatones, is it? I think it was called. I think it's something like that anyway. It was at the time when all young boys, 16, 17, wanted to be in a group. And him and his brother, they formed this group, right? And they were playing in pubs and clubs when he was 16 and 17, right? And And he's from Bather, so a lot of their gigs were Pontypridd, up that area, you know, all around that area, up the Rhondda. And now and again, when their front man who liked a pint and liked to gamble wouldn't turn up, they'd go and shout for Tom, see, who's living in what's the way up to Pontypridd. And he'd come and sing with them. He'd be the front man, like. But then, obviously, his own group, what do they call? I'm trying to think what they were. Anyway, beginning with S, that did. They were playing one night, and Gordon Mills came along, saw them, went on to him, said, "You come to London with me?" He said, "What about the boys?" "No, I don't want them." Vernon Hopkins started that group. Now, Vernon Hopkins, there's a play about it now coming, and there's a book coming out about it. See, Vernon, they've had Vernon, and he's given his life story, Vernon have, because obviously Tom was in that group, you know, but Tom went off to London, made his fortune, didn't he? I mean, that type of thing. Where Vernon and his boys were like still playing on the clubs, like, because they didn't want. It's like the Carpenters, isn't it? When the bloke saw the Carpenters first, he said, "I want you. I'm signing you, but I don't want the bloke." He said, "Well, you can't have one without the other. That's my brother." And then, you know, he wrote a lot of songs, Richard Carpenter. He's a songwriter. And that type of thing. So some do get left behind, don't they? By these people. And he went on and he didn't do bad, Tom. He made a few bob, I think.
I think a couple of people heard of him.
Well, he must have done well if you can buy a telephone box, see?
Yeah.
You mean, once you buy it, if you have a telephone box in your garden, you're doing well.
You've made it then.
Right. Obviously, it's called The Voice. He was a collier's son, destined to sing. Even today, he's regaled as the king. It's not unusual, would bring him fame. Thomas Woodward is certified name. From humble beginnings, playing the pubs, finally graduating to working men's clubs. Fronting the Senators, with soul in his voice, that night in Cwmtillery, an ultimate choice. Top Hat was the venue, a life changer for Tom. From that night forward, a superstar born. Gordon Mills spotted his talent and made him an offer. Come up to the smoke, you've got to go solo. The 60s were swinging, an offer so tempting. Tom Jones he became, adoration never relenting. His baritone voice, full-throated, so robust, 6 generations on, he leaves wannabes in his dust. Music was his passion, American soul and blues, putting Elvis in the shade, gradually filling his shoes. Las Vegas was calling, the strip he would reign, a boy from the valleys, now a superstar's domain. In a business precarious, Tom made it to the top, a musical shape-shifter, the grandfather of pop. A proud son of Wales, Sir Tom take a bow, many undies he used to mop his sweaty brow. You know, it's just a little biography in verse, that's all it is. But then you look at the Senators who he left. You know what I mean? And I can imagine at the time, how old would he be? 20, perhaps 21?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then this fella Mills comes and says, "I don't want them." That's basically what he says. I want you. You know, because I think when Elvis Presley heard him first, he thought he was black.
Yes.
And then he resurrected Elvis's career. He was in the doldrums at the time.
Yeah.
And when he went to Las Vegas and started in the hotel, obviously Elvis went to see him and thought, "I'll have a bit of this." And I think he went down into another hotel and they were like on the strip together. But if we listen to Tom, he's played with everybody, hasn't he?
Oh, well, yeah. There's you know, it's just every conversation with him. In regular society, we would call it name dropping, wouldn't we?
Yeah, you know what I mean? And you've still got the voice. Even at his age now, 80 years of age now. Yeah, he's a fabulous singer.
Yeah, incredible singer.
Fabulous. But so that was my little one for Tom. He was in the top 50. So there we are. Thomas Woodward. He's belonging to a friend of mine, because Alf is from Bather. Down the line, belonging, the name Woodward. They're all over the place, really, up there. But yeah, he's a hell of a boy in his youth. So they tell me.
Yes, we cannot legally confirm or deny that, but
exactly. We can't. What we've written about him is nice. It's nothing controversial.
No, polite.
That's the other thing you've got to be careful. Especially I've got to be careful when I write what I write. I've got to be careful, But I don't put anything controversial in. It's basically the story, basically. And if I want to add something onto it, I will. Like I wrote Bernie Taupin and Elton John. I sent that over to America, and I had a lovely email back off one of their private secretaries. Loved the poem, obviously, but said, "Can you take Candle in the Wind out of it?" And I thought, not really, because it's got to be in there, hasn't it?
Yeah.
It's got to, because part of it was, and I thought, well, no. So they didn't go in the book. Like I wrote them back and said, well, it's not going to be published, so I'm not taking it out.
Yeah.
So I didn't put them in, but I'd like to have them gone in there because they're a fabulous pair. Lyricist and
yeah,
and whatever, the two of them. But there we are. Such is life.
Yeah, I mean it's a great combination, those two especially. I mean, Elton. I don't really put Elton too high up on my list of singers that I like, or in any way, shape, or form. I think the songs are incredible.
Maybe a bones about it. The songs are made Elton as well, mind you.
Oh yeah.
You mean when you're talking about songs making an artist, you got to say Taupin sort of.
Yes.
Was the driving force behind it. This is why they fell out, like, and you mean it. I think Taupin was like a crutch for him as well. You know what I mean? Because the two totally different characters. Flamboyant again, Elton flamboyant, parties and dressing up and all that. Yeah, but I don't think Taupin was like that, and I don't think Taupin liked it.
No, I don't think so.
No, but he still wrote. He still wrote for him. Like, I mean, fabulous, Fab Bernie Taupin, love him.
Yeah, definitely. Some of the, well, Candle in the Wind you mentioned.
Oh,
what a song, what a lyric.
Well, all of them. You all of the roses on the window box and stuff like that. I mean, you listen to the lyrics and it's brilliant, man. Absolutely brilliant. Yellow Brick Road. I mean, absolutely incredible. Captain Fantastic and the Brown Dirt Cowboy, and Christ, you go on and on, man.
Yeah.
On and on. But there we are. What do we got next? Anyway, go on.
Well, I mentioned I mentioned Western Stars earlier when I was writing Highlands.
Yeah.
So there's two here called Western Stars. But I'll read them both because they're quite short. And these are both little postcards of being in the Scottish Highlands. And one of the things I love, which is kind of being alone with your thoughts and under the stars,
Yeah.
And one is about the ghosts that we carry with us, and the people and the memories that we carry, and the other one is just about seeing a sunset by a castle. So yeah, I'll read these next because, like I said, Bruce Springsteen helped me write the book about Scotland, and that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Oh yeah, well done.
So Western Stars 1, a rock near Glen Uig. There is a place I go to sit beneath the western stars, where all is there in nothingness, the ones who are and were before, all there on old shared roads, whisperers caught in stone-tape sounds, a dialed skirting and drawn sidewards. Here you can exhale dream time, when the sky's floodgate launches western stars, and on this rock, below the curtain night, you can see them shine. I look up and I close my eyes, washing in them, but then, at times call. My eyes will stay closed in fear that they're gone. So that's part one, and that's about memory,
Yeah.
and a people and a place. And this is part two. This is the shortest one, and this is about seeing a perfect red sunset against the shape of a ruined castle, but actually being more interested in the sunset than the castle. So this is Sunset at Dorlin. The blistering reds wash western stars, bursting wild in a colourful Cayley, above slow rusting waters and an old ink-blocked castle. Now, I would say I've never been this close to one, and if I now stick out my tongue, then I can taste the sweet rhubarb and custard of it.
I like that. Rhubarb and custard. So Springsteen inspired you with that, obviously.
Yeah.
In what way? He just took you there?
It was the creation of the landscape as a concept. It was almost from a, when I think back to people like Marillion, and I think back to people like Pink Floyd, and I think back to the idea of the concept album, ELO, the concept album, and I realized that I'd written so much about Scotland, and that the actual skeleton of the book was there. I just had to weave in, like working a loom, and I had to weave in the other stuff. And what I would have created then is also a concept book of poetry, in a sense. I did love the idea of writing a travel book in poetry, because I don't know if anyone has done that before. So I really did like that idea. But I wanted to bring in why I went there, what it is about the place that I love. I wanted to describe the places and the things I've seen. I wanted to say to people, you must go see this. But I also wanted to weave in the DNA of, why am I writing about this? What is it that I'm saying? What is it about these stars in particular? It's very easy to go, I walked a lonely road and all this sort of stuff. But I think sometimes we forget to go, why are we walking a lonely road? Why is it? I mean, if you see someone sat on a rock, as I was then, sitting on a rock in pure silence, bathing in it, looking at the stars, not wanting the stars to leave because you connect them to memories. And
that's right, yeah.
And it's very easy sometimes to look at that and think, well, actually, that guy's maybe a little bit depressed. He likes to be on his own. He likes to think. But actually, for someone like me, I'm very, very happy doing that. And I get creativity from it.
Yeah.
So it comes down to very much, who are you? You write in a different way that I do, in different surroundings, different environments, and who's to say? I mean, I did write in one of the earlier books, actually. There's a poem in there called "I'm Happy Being Sad," and that was purely the thing of that. When I do get to that place, which sometimes is a bit melancholy, I'm very comfortable there. And the fact that I'm writing and being creative, that actually makes me happy.
Yeah.
But it's a dangerous thing to do as well, because sometimes you can get stuck in it.
Yeah. You mean, I what I see with a lot of talented people, right? I think you're on a tightrope, basically. You're balancing, right? I find that a lot of comedians go to the depressing side in their life as they travel on. And I think the reason that is, they want people to be happy and funny and clap. And when that diminishes a little bit, I think they go to a dark place. I do. I don't think poets have got that. I think you can write poetry, and if people don't like it, they don't like it. I don't think you get any sort of depressed, they don't like it. But other talented people, especially entertainers, once the sort of what's the word? The charisma sort of drops off with them, and they're not being fueled by they tend to drop off the tightrope to a dark place.
There's a need, isn't there? There's a need for adoration, a wave of applause.
Yeah, they're on a tightrope, and as long as they're on it, they are comfortable because they're
Yeah.
making people happy and making people laugh. I've been in the company of many comedians, you know what I mean, and I've said to one or two of them, you're off your rockers, you're off your rocker, you know what I mean, because of the way they behave and that type of thing. They're on a tight because, and when the adoration goes, I often think, oh, what's left?
Mm.
What have you got left? A lot, as you know, a lot of entertainers got other things. They produce records, they go from writing and performing to producing, like film people. You know what I mean? One minute they're acting, next minute they think, well, I've run the course for acting now. You know what I mean? I'll go into directing or producing, that type of stuff. But I think with like comedians and people like that, it's sort of, if people are not laughing at me or with me, where do I go? But like, I started doing a project with Carl Ryan, my photographer mate, and he kept sending me landscapes. Now, I'd never done a landscape till Carl sent me a picture, and it's usually about the beacons up there, right? And he just sent me a lake, but very much up the Highlands. So now I've got to put myself up the beacons, and I find it quite easy. You know what I mean? I look at it and I write what I see.
Yeah.
I write what I see, like, you know what I mean? And like he sent me one day a tree stump with mushrooms and moss growing on it, and a barbed wire fence and an old gate, like. And I thought, what do you want me to write about that, like? But you can, because it's life, isn't it? You know what I mean? Rust, and you know what I mean. So, and that's the way you've got to look at it. So I started writing these landscape ones, and I believe the kid, and then somebody asked me to write something about the Wild West, and the fellas rang me last night. He wants me to write a poem about the 100th bloke who was shot in the war for desertion. He's only 21, like, you know what I mean? He should never have been in the army, because he was his intelligence was on the floor. He was a criminal. He was a vagabond, and yet they signed him up for the First World War. So he goes over there, he's in the Battle of Arras, and he does a runner. And I think it was very not surprised, but very sensible thing to do.
Yeah.
So they catch him today, try him tomorrow, and then shoot him at 6 o'clock. Oh, look. And so he says, so I say to him, I said, well, what's the information about him? Oh, I haven't got no information about him. So what I'll do with that, I'll write it as if I'm him.
Yes.
See? I think, well, it's me. So I'll write 5 or 6 verses as if it's me. And obviously the end product is I'm going to be put against the wall and shot. That type of thing, you know what I mean? He was done for desertion. But as you know, they were all pardoned.
Yeah.
8 years ago, they were all the blokes who were shot, because it's shell shock. It's post-traumatic stress. Which was so. And then you get that, so you think, how am I going to write about this book? All I got is his name, and he's 21 years of age. But he was a vagabond, low intelligence, so you got to blame the army as well, haven't you? So that's got to come into it a little bit. You sent a bloke to war who really shouldn't be anywhere near it.
Yeah.
And that's the way it was at the time, wasn't it? You know what I mean? And as you know, if you signed anybody up for the war, you had money. The recruiters, if you could recruit, they'd have backhanders, like. So the more they signed up, the more money there. Exploitation again, isn't it? But sending men to their death, and sending men into a battle which is horrendous, where they know they're not going to survive. So what do? It's a battle of survival, and just run away.
Yeah.
End of. So I got that one. I got that one to do.
That's over a cup of tea and a biscuit tonight.
Last night. Huh?
Over a cup of tea and a biscuit tonight now.
Yeah, I'll have to.
Likes poetry, yeah.
Oh, I don't know, but you mean it? Like I say, I'll write about anything basically, but I love the story of it. I do, and when I read yours, you can read and shut your eyes, and you can envisage the mountains and the sky and the running water, Loch Ness. You think, it's so vast, isn't it? About Loch Ness, where are you going to find a monster there? But I don't know. Do you think there's one there? I don't know.
I know it's there.
It's there
No.
somewhere. It's about 500 years old,
Yes.
and he'll have somebody one day, or
Yes.
somebody catch it one day
I
on
know it.
a 150-pound strain rod or something like that.
When I was up there the first time I was up there, and I went on a cruise on Loch Ness, on the Nessie Hunter, I think it was called. And the guy that was the captain of the boat, right? He was sat on the back of the boat. I think it was August, and the boat pulled out, and the loch is black. It's like sailing on ink. It's incredible. And this voice just started coming over these speakers, right? And I can't do the voice, right? But this voice, all of a sudden, I'll do my best. It was like, "There's no doubt there's some strange creatures here in Loch Ness," right? And I went,
Sean Connery.
Right? And he didn't look like Sean in the end, but yeah, he was brilliant, and everything you wanted from that experience. You know, he was saying, "Don't ask me, don't you dare ask me if there's a monster in this loch." He said, "Because I see it every morning." He said, "And I feed her porridge toast and the occasional tourist."
That's right. I saw that. I read that, porridge toast and the occasional tourist.
But
But no, you know what I mean. It's like yourself, and I mean, it's if all poets were the same or writers of poetry were the same, where would we be? I don't know.
yeah, but I think you're right what you said earlier about comedians and entertainers, because I think it's whether you consider yourself a poet or a writer of poetry, however you want to look at yourself. I don't think we would see ourselves as entertainers. So we
No.
don't have that need for that adoration, because
Nope.
what we do, we don't know if somebody's going to sit in a room and read a piece of our poetry. We're never going to know how they felt in that moment unless they reach out and tell us. And
Yeah.
some people go, "Well, that was a load of crap," or some people
That's
go,
right.
"That changed my life."
That's right.
But you never get that immediate exchange. You do at live events or book events, you can kind of see people reacting to what you're saying. But we don't have that need. It's not like a drug to us.
No, I put a poem on a site, those Welsh sites, and the likes I had was phenomenal. And then some bloke puts a post on it. But it's some famous Welsh poet, the tramp poet, I think. What's his name? Edward Davis, I think it's something. But it's not Edward Davis, like, but is it? You know, and I think it was I know what he means. I know what he means. You know, he's compared it to, and it's not the same, but it's.
Oh, no, but the only answer to a comment like that is no. You're right. It's not. You're right. It's not.
And I said to him, and I said, "Why don't you just be honest and say it's a load of crap, but I won't be offended. I won't be offended. Don't worry about it. You know what I mean?" So I put that on there, like me.
So you went full Terry Maguire on him after.
I thought, I mean, you know, because you go back to Terry, you know, people ring me up, especially Bobbies, and you know what I mean, what's he up to next? What's he going to do next? It's as if he's a real person, like, you know what I mean? They've read it as if, you know, like you read a couple of them, you probably end up thinking, what's he going to do next? What's the next book going to be like? What's he going to be like? What's he going to be doing? He's going to kill somebody?
I think he's going to retire to the Caribbean, right? A lot of cash he stashed aside. He's going to have 4 or 5 wives, and he's going to write his memoirs.
No, you wouldn't leave Molly, but...
No?
Oh, no, Molly's his rock, but she keeps him... because you go back to that, he's not your stereotype detective, see?
No.
No, the bloke in the next one, he is. He's divorced. Likes a pint or 10. Another one who don't give a monkey about anybody. Right, which has held him back a bit. He should be an ACC or a chief constable, you know. So he's a little bit different. So when people read it and they've read Terry, they think, "Oh, fucking different to Terry." See, and that's how they compare it. See,
yeah.
You know, oh, different than that other bloke. You know what I mean? So poetry's the same, isn't it? Would you describe yourself, your nearest to, as a poet? Wordsworth?
I don't know. And the reason I don't know is because, much like you, and the reason that you don't tend to read poetry, I don't try to emulate anybody.
No.
There's been 1 or 2 things I've written where I've tried to capture the style of a particular writer. I've definitely once or twice, and definitely earlier on, I wrote a poem called Lullaby. And I wrote it for my niece, Georgia. And the idea was that it reads like a lullaby, that it puts her to sleep.
Oh, you read that to me?
Yeah, and
Have you reading that?
yeah, and and maybe that was a bit Dylan Thomas
Yeah, yeah.
in its sense. But outside of that, I don't think I have anyone that I would say this is who I'm trying to write like.
No,
I think if I did that, I would stop actually.
I'm the same. You know, I like all the war poets, Sassoon and Brooke and but I haven't read all their poetry.
No.
I haven't sort of thought today I'm going to read all Wilfred Owen's
Mm.
poems.
Remember the
Because
poem I
well,
wrote about the one I wrote about my mother being in the kitchen with my mother cooking.
yeah,
And my teacher, Mark Jeffries, you know, the guy that inspired me with English literature, when he read that, I remember him saying to me, he said that was very Heaney-esque, very much like Seamus Heaney would have written. And you know, and of course, my heart jumped out of my chest then because I was like, now I've been compared to greatness itself, you know.
that's right.
But I wouldn't want to think that I'm trying to emulate him in any way.
No, no.
Um, you
I
know,
think once you start trying to do that, it's like with the writing of the books. I'm not a big reader of crime books, so I'd like to think that anybody who does read them are not reading the sort of same old dirge, you know, that these blokes are producing. Like, Caroline's a big Lee Childs fan,
mm,
and she's from the first one, but then what she's found as they've progressed, they've got worse.
that's Jack Reacher, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, my father-in-law, big fan of him.
What
Big.
does he think of it? But Caroline seems to think that it's like dropped off, you know what I mean?
Okay.
So I don't know. That's just Caroline's opinion, and she's an
Mm.
avid reader. She'd read a book a day, like she's an incredible reader. She is. And she read a book, and I say, "What's that one about, love?" And she go, She just read one, finished one yesterday, and she was good. She said it's a good book,
Mm.
and so it's got to be a good book, isn't it? But and as you know, a lot of these famous writers today are not actually writing the books. You know,
Yeah.
they're actually having people to write for them.
Well, I
Um,
think that guy that did Game of Thrones, I think at one point they said he had a house full of writers.
yeah,
I
yeah.
feel you to try and keep up with television. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. You know, you go back to songwriting.
Mm.
Is it the Brit Building in New York? I think it was
The Brill
the
Building.
Brill Building. You know, you had them all in it. They're like battery chickens in it,
Mm.
writing songs.
Mm. I went there in September when I was out there.
Were they like cubicles when they were writing? I don't know.
Oh, I mean, they must have been stacked in there. There was
Oh,
definitely bunk beds in there.
oh, unbelievable! They were turning like in song an hour out, and
Mm.
all top songs.
Oh yeah.
Um, Exploited again, totally
Mhm.
exploited. You look at these pop groups, Sign This, yeah, Sign Your Life Away. You tied into me now for 10 years. It's, what? You know, and they signed like Die My Mate, see, you know what I mean? He recorded up in Decca with his group, see?
Mm.
The Senators, they were up in Decca when Roy Orbison was up there recording
Mm.
just prior to him becoming big.
Mm.
Tom, it's just being in the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
But you've got to be watching about being exploited.
Yeah.
It's not so much today, but do you go back to the 60s, 50s, and 60s and early in exploitation? Millions of them, millions. This is why they're all tax excise, like Gordon Millers and people. You know what I mean? They all offshored it, innit? But
Oh, right.
right.
Just one more, but we got time for one more each, I think.
Who shall I give you? I mean, look, I got
What we got then?
the king of rock and roll. We'll do Elvis, is it?
Go on.
We
Go on.
done Tom. It's not a long one, Elvis. It's only 4 verses. Anyway, the king of rock and roll, Elvis Aaron Presley.
Mhm.
He was untamed and wild, a culture icon, a voice oh so pure when he burst into song. Hearts he would melt, on screen or stage, a musical Svengali with the odd bout of rage. His deep southern drawl set him apart. In a stellar career, he broke many a heart. Pioneering rockabilly, racial barriers he broke. For generations to come, rock and roll he'd evoke. Smouldering good looks, had a style of his own. Sexually provocative, he wore the king's crown. He was guided by Parker for over 20 years. In an unforgiving industry, he had no peers. A performer unique, universally acclaimed, blues, country, gospel flowed through his veins. He sang with such soul, a voice so unique, a hip-swinging idol with an athletic physique. Read that to your mother like that.
She watches these, Arthur. She
Huh?
watches these.
Yeah. So it's only 4 verses, but he was unique.
Mm.
He could sing anything, so whatever. But and he brought things. He brought black and white together, basically.
Definitely. I remember sitting. I was working in Cardiff. I was working in Splot in Cardiff, and we were doing a project for the NHS. This must have been in the mid to late 90s. And I brought in 15 people to run this department, little office. And a guy came in, a much older guy than anybody else. And one day we had a problem and all the computers went down and we just sat there talking. And he sat there and he was telling me about being sat listening to the radio when he was young with his father and his mother on a Sunday night. And they heard Elvis for the first time. And he brought this story to life. It was an incredible story. And he was saying that we'd never heard anything like it. You know, it was just, you know, he automatically knew this is something different now. Something is changing now. And, but yeah, it was fab. He just sat there, he laid this story out, you know, and and he was so detailed. I said to him, you have to write this down. Because you could smell his mother's cooking, you could hear the video, you know, and he brought it to life. But like Elvis, you know, I'm guilty as anyone.
But you could write a poem about that, can you?
Yeah.
The way you described it. And the other thing about that, as you know, Tom, I've had the odd burger with Elvis.
Did he know him? Did he?
I think Tom did know him.
I don't know whether Tom's ever mentioned that. I don't know.
He's a hell of a boy. Yeah, when that Will.i.am was on, I don't watch much. I haven't seen it for donkey's years. And Will.i.am would say, and Elvis go, yeah, he performed with him in Las Vegas. Yeah, recorded with him.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, yeah. Did a
close personal friend.
Did a duet with him.
Yeah, I used to take him for chips down Carlisle Street in Cardiff.
Right. Don't you, Wally?
Yeah.
But
no, you gotta love it, don't you? Gotta love it.
But like you say, like your friend described that, you know, I mean, you could write a poem about it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the way, like you say, the smells, the voice, unique, going to change the music world. You know, it's an amalgam of bits and pieces of an ordinary bloke's thoughts, basically. You know what I mean? This is why, like I say, with this one I'm going to write now, with this bloke who was shot, I'd have to be him, like.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to be him now to take him from begging to the wall. You know what I mean? And they're all buried out in France on these graves, you know, on marked graves or whatever they're on. But I think so. On occasions, it's like you when you were there up the Highlands. You were there, and you the smell, the heather, you know, the mountains, the cloud. It's there, like, you know what I mean. And you suck it in, you know. And that's what I do, really. I just suck the facts in and just spout them out, like.
Just spout in. There you go.
Spout them out.
If anybody's watching, thinking about becoming a poet or becoming a writer, listen to Arthur, because all you got to do is just spout it out. There's no other craft to it. You just
That's right. There's no nuts right there. It's like I've told you before. I'm a bit of a plasterer.
Yeah.
You know, put it on the trowel and whatever sticks. You know.
Well, you know, the logic is right, because I mean, I told you before, when I was in university, I spent some time with Sheena Pugh, brilliant Welsh poet, and she said she'd never said she was a plasterer, no. but what she did say was that you write it all down on a bit of paper, and then you cross stuff out, and the only words you should have left are the ones you can't do without.
That's right.
So it's the same thing.
It is, yeah.
Same thing.
You get the amalgam there, the sort of the mixture there. Like what I do, like I say, I write my first verse. I've written the first verse for the bloke. I wrote it last night, and then I packed it in. and I've read it again this morning, and I just altered 3 words. And that's it. That's the first one. And then I go on to the next one, and I'll chuck it on, and then I'll read it. I'll do the poem, the 6 verses. I'll have a cup of tea and a sandwich. Then I'll come back to it, and I'll read through it again. And if I want to, I just change a few words, the context of it. And I think I did what did I do yesterday? Munt Church yesterday. Have you been down there?
No, I read it. I read it today. It's excellent.
Well, if you ever go down to Cardigan Bay, take a trip to Munt, right? You write a beautiful poem. You would, when you go if you go down there and sit down and just suck it in, you would write a far more descriptive poem of Munt. I wrote about basically, the history of it. But you'd suck it in the bay. The last verses, mine is the dolphins and the seals, which you are down there. But you'd have the area, you got the hill there, you got the flat, you got the church, you got this, you got that, and you've got to have a visit there, because it's like today down there. It'd be beautiful down there. I've been down there a couple of times with Caroline, and you go in the church, and it's open, and you go in there, and it's cold, and it's sort of antiquity. The stone, you've got the saints' heads, because they used to take the saints over to Bards, and they'd stop off there, the pilgrims would, and they'd go in there and they start pray and stuff. Brilliant. And John Wake, as you know, John's an expert on it. John Wake is on Bardsey and all that, the saints and everything. If you speak to John, he's a font of information, John is.
No, I will. I'll take a trip.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You got if you and your missus now. If you got a day like today, just jump in the car, go down there. Take a picnic with you, or a flask of tea, and you go and you sit and you have a look at the church, and you'd have a beautiful descriptive poem of it. You would.
I will put it on my list.
Put it on your to-do list. Right. Yeah. And I got another one. Last one, is it?
Yeah, I tell you, it's we've mentioned him a lot, so I think we'll do a bit of Mikey Peters. I think
I think I'll write one about I'll write one of Mike Peters. I think, and send it to you. What do you think? Huh?
I've written twice about him.
Have you?
The first time I wrote in frustration, and I wrote a poem called "Why Can't I Write Like Mike Peters?" And this one I wrote I was lucky enough to go to an album launch of his in HMV on Queen Street in Cardiff, and we were the first in through the door, and I was stood right to the front. And he was 2 meters, wasn't enforced then, but he was about 6 foot away from me. And he had his guitar, and he had his harmonica, and he was doing acoustic versions of his songs. And it was kind of like a religious experience for me, And we got to talk a little bit about writing and stuff like that. And he's a wonderful man. And I wanted to write down that moment of what I felt stood in front of this man who is a legend to me. So I came back from there, and I started writing notes, and at the top of the page I wrote the phrase "man in the camo jacket," because when I think of him, that's how I see him, in his camouflage jacket and various other things. So this is my poem about standing in front of Mike Peters and having a religious experience.
Out of body?
It was wonderful. I mean, he always takes, it's his writing, he takes you somewhere, and you do, and I do. That's the ironic part. I was closest I've ever been to him, really, outside of shaking hands and meeting after gigs and stuff. And I was that close, I shut my eyes. Instead of standing there watching him, I just shut my eyes just to take it all in. But yeah, and obviously he's had a tough life, with cancer and various other things that have gone on for him as well. And so there's layers to him. So yeah, I come back and I wrote this. So we'll give this a go. Man in the camo jacket. Bleeding stories from a 6-string. A hero stands before me, pulsing lifeblood with a jaw harp, and wrapping us in tales of his orchestral soul. We drink in the conversation. The troubadour shapes each delicious morsel, a pure swaddle on melodic swells, heart-born and essence charged, waves that break on our innermost force. His eyes cry out resolve and will, ascending to claim each triumphant refrain. The bard draws each journey's shape, carrying each one of us through the odyssey of his songs. Each rhetoric, woven and fashioned from a slice of his whole, memories of comfort, agony and vigor, the artist's heart laid bare in exposition, each shard a window to the full. At last chord and refrains close, the crowd renews his will to birth another, to place another rune before us, to punch our hearts with hymns new, and take us again on a journey through his conscience. The rhapsodist reaches down to strum again. The blues harp rings out in eerie harmony. Then, eyes closed looking for God, the canorous chant is unleashed to drown us all in his joyous challenge spirit. For Mike Peters.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like you say, you've got to be there to write it. You've got to be in the moment, like it's an in the moment thing. I'll have a look at him after, Mike, now, and see what I can dish up on him now, like, because my poem about him will be more biographically, but then you'd marry it with yours. It's a good thing, really. I think it's like when I say about Carl with the photography, the poem goes with the picture. A fella got in touch with me. He read some of my poetry, and I did one about the Aurora Borealis, right? Which is, as you know, is beautiful. It's a beautiful sight. And he's like an astronomy photographer, he is. And he said, would you do a calendar with me? And I said, what do you mean a calendar? He said, if I send you the pictures, will you do the poem to go with them? So I did 2. And then he wanted me to go into business with me. Something like that. So I said, look, no, I said, I'm not, I'm not promoting anything or whatever. And but I think what it would have done, the pictures would have taken away from the poem. No, cars don't do that. You know, it's a lake or this, but with these stunning photos, and they're all in lapse time. Where, you know, which I don't like really. I think it's sort of false. I think it's false photography. I do. You know what I mean? It's making, like, you go out on a summer's night, you see all the stars as they are. Then you'll take a picture of it and then show you, and it's like, is that what I looked at? It's all in lapse time and sort of shadowy and silvery stuff. And I think, so I give that a miss. I did. I give him the poems, as I do like with the poems. Like, I mean, if you want to put them on a postcard, put them on it. But I don't think anything would detract from the poem. Do you understand? Because the poem's the poem, isn't it? This is why there are not a lot of pictures with poetry, are there?
Well, because you're trying to create the picture in the words, aren't you? So
yeah.
So when you do them together.
Now with Carl's, you'd have the picture first on one page, so you'd look at it and you think, oh, Llyn y Fan Fawr, which is the lake, and then read the poem. And then they'd marry up, they would. Or you could read the poem first, and then sort of like us with our poetry, you know, you've wrote that about, and I wrote it, and they balance each other up, don't they?
Yeah.
You mean, rather than I do a poem about stars and people, I forget about the poem. You know, it's a balancing act basically. But I gave that one a miss. A lady's got in touch with me now yesterday. She's doing history of Cairo, and she asked if I do like an interview. Well, I left Cairo when I was 17. I went back to live with my mother when I was 21, 22. But so what I'll do, I'll give her the poems about my growing up. I will, and I say put them in your book or whatever you're doing. Stick them in, like, I got loads of poems. Like. But yeah, I think when you read a poem, it's got to take you there. It's got to take you somewhere. It's got to take you somewhere. If it doesn't. Like with the World War I poems, every poem you read by Wilfred Owen and Sassoon, it takes you somewhere. It's, it's blood and gore, like, in it. I mean, and the futility of war. Your poetry, like the Highlands, is beautiful. It is the Highlands, isn't it?
Mm.
And it comes over well. Like I say, I've only read the prologue. I'm going to start on the poems now.
Mm.
I've read one or two menu, but I'll have to go back to the days.
Well, I'll wait for the message later that basically says, "What a load of crap."
Well, it's like, no, it's. I think anybody who writes a book, don't get me wrong, who writes anything basically, and I think schools should do more. I think like I say, David John was my inspiration, my English teacher, but I didn't have him long. But I can imagine the classes coming after me. Must have thought the world of him. Could he change it completely?
Yeah.
Completely. English lit was never the same. I don't know what it's like now, but certainly when he was there, but he was destined then to go on in education. I think he ended up the deputy in Glamorgan, I think, in the end. And he was only young, like, he won an old fella, like. But no, he's one of my inspirations. So is that it now?
Yes. Thank you again for your time.
Yeah, well, thank you. Put the fee in the post.
Well, yes, I'll invoice you, and
yeah,
you get paid in beer, don't you? That's right.
Huh?
You get paid in beer, don't you?
Right.
Yeah, I will. I'm sure we'll rendezvous again at some point.
Yes, we'll hopefully this lockdown will change a bit and we can get about a bit. I don't know.
Yeah, sounds good.
For the furthest me and Caroline go is Couches for the veg. Tesco's for the click and collect, and that's about it basically. I think we've got it now 16th week, yeah.
Well, who knows? They could have a whole new world to explore soon.
Well, I don't know, but like I said, if you can get down to Munt, you'll enjoy it down there. It's beautiful, beautiful. I think you'd have inspiration down there. You would, man, you along the coast and stuff. I mean.
Yeah, definitely. I'll have a look at it.
Wildlife. There we are, but I'll see you again anyway.
Yeah, I will speak to you soon.
Look after yourself.
You take care. Give the best to your wife.
Regards to the fiancée. Was it Natalie, innit?
Natalie, yes.
Regards to Natalie. Perhaps once it's all subsides now, we can pop down and have a glass of wine or something.
Sounds good to me, mate.
Down Yuppie Land.
Down Yuppie Land. All right, I'll speak to you soon.
Well, you've done well for a Valley boy, fair play.
Oh, I know. Yeah. You know what they say.
And you got Anne Brady for a neighbour. Anne lives on it, doesn't she?
Yeah, I mean, nowhere's perfect, is it?
No, but she's not live far from you.
No, she's a couple of streets away. She is in the penthouse. Yeah.
Yeah, she got his go. She's very, very busy, Manuel, isn't she? She's like what's her name is busy as well. Liz McDermott is. She's very busy with blogs and mentoring and stuff like that. I've been thinking of mentoring myself.
Yeah.
Aye.
Yeah, you should. You should.
Oh, I don't know. Caroline laughing. What are you laughing at the back there for?
I'm glad Caroline laughed before me. That's fine.
All the best, Ross.
Thanks, pal. Take care. I'll speak to you soon.
Thank you very much indeed.
Cheers, mate. Bye.